Hello, good evening, and welcome to Business Focus, your weekly business and economic analysis program live here on TV3. My name is Kwesi Asare. So tonight we've got an exclusive interview with the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Mr. Yofi Grant. He's come with a lot of vim and vigor with plans to improve on the country's investment climate. We've got a number of questions we'll be posing to him tonight on the program. Also, on our mover segment tonight, we're going to be speaking to Zenobia Bushdeed. She's a Chief Executive Officer of Zeno's Yogurt Bar, located inside the ANC shopping mall. We'll tell you about her business and the prospects and what she intends to do in the next few years. Later on, in the very concluding part of our program, we should be speaking to Ben Amwaje, who's an investment banker on the commodities market. We'll find out what the price of gold, cocoa, and oil is and how it will impact on the local economy. We'll take a short commercial break. When we return, I'll introduce our in-studio guest. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Business Focus, your weekly business and economic analysis program live here on TV3. My name is Kwesi Asare. So tonight we've got an exclusive interview with the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Mr. Yofi Grant. He's come with a lot of vim and vigor with plans to improve on the country's investment climate. We've got a number of questions we'll be posing to him tonight on the program. Also, on our mover segment tonight, we're going to be speaking to Zenobia Bushdeed. She's a Chief Executive Officer of Zeno's Yogurt Bar, located inside the ANC shopping mall. We'll tell you about her business and the prospects and what she intends to do in the next few years. Later on, in the very concluding part of our program, we should be speaking to Ben Amwaje, who's an investment banker on the commodities market. We'll find out what the price of gold, cocoa, and oil is and how it will impact on the local economy. We'll take a short commercial break. When we return, I'll introduce our in-studio guest. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Business Focus, your weekly business and economic analysis program live here on TV3. My name is Kwesi Asare. So tonight we've got an exclusive interview with the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Mr. Yofi Grant. He's come with a lot of vim and vigor with plans to improve on the country's investment climate. We've got a number of questions we'll be posing to him tonight on the program. Also, on our mover segment tonight, we're going to be speaking to Zenobia Bushdeed. She's a Chief Executive Officer of Zeno's Yogurt Bar, located inside the ANC shopping mall. We'll tell you about her business and the prospects and what she intends to do in the next few years. Later on, in the very concluding part of our program, we should be speaking to Ben Amwaje, who's an investment banker on the commodities market. We'll find out what the price of gold, cocoa, and oil is and how it will impact on the local economy. We'll take a short commercial break. When we return, I'll introduce our in-studio guest. Hello and welcome back to Business Focus, your weekly business.
To do it, I mean, you know, you've been part of the manifesto writer for the party for the past number of years. You've been on radio, you've been on air, you've always been there about policy and you know where the country needs to go to. This is the great opportunity. And at the end of the day, it's not about you, it's really about the country. And so think about it. And by saying think about it, I thought he meant I should go home and think. I said, no, think about it. I mean, I think this is best suited for you. So, you know, I said, well, you are the president. If you tell me that this is the job I should do, and you believe that I have what it takes, I think. And at that moment, you know, before I had discussions with people who said, well, why don't you go to GIPC and change the institution and change the way we do things? But I never really took it on as something that I would end up there. I thought, okay, that's exciting, but I thought of other things, you know. And so when he said it, I says, okay, well, I think that's it. You just do that. I believe that you can do it.
And then the next thing you announced as the Chief Executive Officer of the GIPC.
Yes, I did.
And over the last few weeks, you've been talking tough. You were in Washington during the World Bank spring meetings.
Yes, indeed, I was.
Yes, and you talked about a few things.
Yes, we did. I mean, I talked about, you know, Ghana. It's interesting. I mean, Ghana is the proverbial, you know, jet plane on the runway, revving to take off. That hasn't taken off, and sometimes you question why we haven't taken off, and the reasons are not, you know, they are not intractable or, you know, reasons that you can't resolve. And sometimes I think there are no reasons at all, you know, and therefore if we had the political will and the support to transform this country, it would happen like this. Because if you have the strong leadership supporting the reforms and supporting the change that you need, it doesn't really take too much to happen.
And that's what you intend to do?
Absolutely. But even apart from that, I mean, I think the country is imbued with certain pluses and positives that you don't find easily in other countries. First of all, it's our democratic credentials are almost impeccable in the zone in which we are, and everybody sees Ghana as the peaceful, happy people. People credit us with such great hospitality. People think that we don't even ever fight, you know. So there is a certain affinity. There's this mystic affinity of affection, as I call it, for Ghana. That also puts us in a good position to do many things that will positively affect the sub-region if we want to. I mean, from our independence days, Ghana was the first sub-Saharan African country to gain independence. It was great motivation for many other countries, and Ghana has always been mentioned. Oh, Ghana, take the example of Ghana. You know, people come here, and even now, till now, you find people from the West African sub-region coming to Ghana for holidays, weekend holidays, because they are at peace, they feel good, you know, there's relatively little crime, comparative, I say relative, you know, and great weather. Even when it rains, the rain stops early, and then there's this coolness that comes upon us. So we seem to have these benefits. And then, of course, we are almost centrally located. We are in the middle of West Africa. We are almost in the middle of the world, you know. So 6 hours to Europe, maybe maximum 10 hours to America, down south, another 6 hours. We are accessible to many places that could be our natural partners in business and trade. So to reposition the country, to fill that void of a spearhead in African Renaissance from the West African consideration is sort of naturally comes to us.
One of the immediate challenges that you'll be confronted with will be to improve on our rankings when it comes to the World Bank doing business reports. Have you studied that document?
Yeah, I'm not sure it will be difficult. Yes, there will be challenges because, you know, some of the countries that are around us, our peer countries, are reforming very fast. And there's enough correlation to show that when you do certain reforms, the world is not about business, it's about growth, you know. And I guess that's what led Britain to adopt the Brexit approach and Trump to say in America, let's start looking inwards. Because people always believe that when you fix what's in there, the out naturally comes automatically.
And talking of reforms, one of the countries that's recently become a case study for many of the African countries is Rwanda. They have, instituted a number of pro-investment policy reforms over the years. What sort of key lessons do you hope to pick from Rwanda?
Many, but the things that Rwanda have done is not things that have not been available for us to do. In fact, Rwanda is just one. If you look at the 10 top places to do business in the world today, according to the WF and the World Bank rankings, there are 5 African countries there. There's Rwanda, there's Mauritius, there's Senegal, there's even Benin, and there's Kenya. All of them on the back of significant reforms. And I believe that Ghana is better positioned to competitively get into that space. I think that some of the things that we do, we need to review again and look at what the end benefits are.
We'll come back to some of the things you think we need to review. But first of all, what can you say is the current state of investment portfolio in the country?
Well, the investment portfolios that we have, most of them have gone into resource extraction. Oil and gas, gold, diamond. And that's because we are probably resource rich. And so that's where most of the investments as well have gone into. There's also the new emerging asset class of real estate and the hotel business. But there is a lot more that we can channel our resources to. For example, agro-processing. We've always touted ourselves as a country, an agricultural country, and mentioned that 60% of our population is engaged somewhere in the value chain the broad value chain of agriculture. But we don't see significant investment there. In fact, indeed, I'm told that as much recently, our import food bill was $2.2 billion. Rice alone was about $600 million. But rice has never really been a traditional staple meal of ours. It's a recent, phenomenon. But what does that mean? So if we could invest even half of that, $2.2 billion in agriculture, we will be self-sufficient in food. And you know that food security is now national security. When you can feed your people, you have a stable place. When you can't feed your people, you are susceptible to all sorts of global influences that you're probably not very happy about. You won't be happy about. So we need to fix that. We need to direct some investment there. And of course, we have other resources. But agro-processing is one of the best that for me comes for. Technology, tourism. Tourism is a no-brainer because we have wonderful places that we've not exploited. We have young people out of jobs that we need to train and get them in there. We don't even have, right now, I don't think we have, although we are very hospitable people, we don't have a hospitality service, mentality. We are not yet there. So, we need to change a lot of these things and get our country moving. And I'm saying that depending on the type of incentives, depending on the type of business environment we have, we will naturally see the investments come in. Right now, although we haven't sort of sorted a lot of things out, everywhere you go, Ghana is on the lips of people. I don't know what the last election did, but it certainly brought Ghana back to the fore again. When the results came out, people said, yes, this is what we want to see. A peaceful election, the numbers were large as compared to the previous election, but there is change happening in this country.
Do we have a synergy between the entities that are supposed to champion trade and investment into this country? Because that was one of the idea behind the establishment of the Rwanda Development Board,
right,
to create a sort of synergy between all these entities so you could provide a one-stop shop for all investments into the country. Do we have that in Ghana?
We don't have that as yet, but we are working to put it in place. The framework is there. We are already building the foundations of that. But having said that, I speak to Ministry of Trade, I speak to Ministry of Business Development. We all have our mandates as what to do.
I was going to go to that because when we heard about the appointment of the Business Development Ministry, a lot of people suggested that there was going to be a collision cost between that ministry and that of your ministry.
Absolutely
or
not.
your entity.
Not at all. Not at all.
They're clear-cut.
Clear-cut mandates. And bear in mind, there's too much work to do. I don't see how people will collide. You just have to share the work accordingly. And there's just too much to do. Maybe what we don't even have is enough people to execute some of the things. But business development is about the internal business environment. Our business actors in the business space, SMEs and SMIs. How can we make them more competitive? How can we support them so that they grow and become blue chips that will become regionally and then globally competitive? How do we bring about critical mass in a capacity building within our own business environment? You know, those are the remit of the business development place. It's purely developing them. And then at the end of the day, I mean, I sit there and think about it, and I said that this afternoon at the forum, at the investment summit, that we've been doing gold and cocoa for years. We don't even have one single billionaire. Other people who've never seen a cocoa tree have developed billions out of cocoa and gold. We need to build capacity within. We need to actively support within to build those capacities, you know. So that's one side of the equation. The other side, trade. I mean, we need to have a trade policy, an industrialization policy that will also grow the economy. And we need, the president has articulated clearly that Africa needs to move away from aid to trade. And we are going to exemplify that. I mean, that we are not going to depend on aid anymore. We are going to build an industrial base, whether it's through one district, one factory, or specific interventions, and then have a trade policy that makes us equal partners in trade, whether within the sub-region or internationally.
Let's talk about, you know, your policy reforms, the plans to review the criteria and requirements for foreigners who wish to invest in the country. What are you looking at?
I mean, first of all, I need to probably say that the GIPC law, strictly speaking, is country septic in the sense that it's not done to suit certain countries and not certain countries, or foreigners or not foreigners. It's just as the component of it says that if you're a foreign investor coming to Ghana, you must register with the center and have certain reporting requirements in the center. We have to then monitor. And it's for many reasons. For security reasons, also for statistics, to see how well there's capital flowing into our country from offshore. But the rules and laws we have apply to both foreigners and indigenous
non-foreigners, right?
Non-foreigners, except that I think over the ages, because every foreign company registers with GIPC, the impression was created that the GIPC law is just for foreign investors. No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. The incentives we have may just as well apply to indigenous companies that qualify. Now, the big question is, people then ask, but then aren't you favoring the foreign companies against the local companies? No, exactly not. I look at it from a bigger perspective that, for example, we want to bring in $5 billion this year. Now, what would that $5 billion translate to in terms of tax revenue, in terms of job creation, in terms of business creation? It definitely would be much more significant than the traditional $2-3 billion we have. What it means too is that some other people from outside Ghana will bring their capital, come and set up factories and businesses and create jobs for our people, in addition to what we ourselves internally can do to enhance job creation within Ghana. So it's important that we embark on this journey of attracting foreign investment. Apart from that,
bring in $5 billion this year. You still got challenges with power, power generation. You still have difficulties with registering businesses. There's still challenges, underlying challenges that need to be resolved.
Yeah, but we are resolving those on a daily basis. We are looking. I mean, the Minister of Energy is reviewing the sector and trying to make some real sense out of it. At least we have partially been able to solve the rather debilitating Dumso issue. And although we still have occasional brown or blackouts, it wasn't like we did have some years ago, because at least some aspect of the problem has been sorted out. There's more to go. We obviously have some solutions outlined, where we are now going to go off-grid, renewable, sustainable plants to help to sort out power problems in places that maybe distribution is a problem. I mean, Nigeria, as we speak, are looking to take Lagos State of the Nigeria grid and provide energy, self-sustaining energy for Lagos State alone using renewables. And that's a huge state. Lagos State alone is probably the population of Ghana. So why can't we look at our own circumstances and say, because we have distribution problems, maybe the solution will be to look at off-grid solutions for places. So you can do, maybe Tema has its own plant generated by XYZ, or industries that you put out there under the one district, one factory, will have mini plants that will generate electricity for them so that they don't have to rely on the national grid. But then they can sell back power to the national grid. So there are quite a number of solutions available that are all being worked out. At the end of the day, we are probably getting power at 19 cents. We want to bring it down to anything between 8 to 12 cents. That will make our businesses competitive. And that is it's not a promise, it's a plan. And you can't decide overnight that we are going to change it because there's a structure supporting it. So you need a plan to do it. But we are on that plan. And I'm very confident that we will get there.
You're confident that access to capital
Oh, absolutely.
will?
Oh, yes. I mean, I can tell you the number of big companies that have come to my office trying to do energy sometimes is overwhelming. And I keep saying, gosh, these guys are going to trample all over themselves trying to outdo each other to provide renewable energy, whether it's solar or it's wind or it's biomass. I even know of a big project where they are planting trees. Huge acreages, huge. Planting trees to use wood for fuel to generate electricity. They harvest and they plant. They harvest and they plant. And I was looking and said, wow, so how long is it going to take a tree to grow? 4 or 5 years. But they have these big cycles, so they are doing a lot of. Now that has it's a double whammy. Because on one side they are providing fuel, but on the other side they also do a massive reforestation so that it doesn't have a negative impact on environment. But they are going to produce energy. Then there's wind. Then there's biomass. We generate a lot of rubbish. I have spoken to at least 6
Easier
groups.
said than done, some would say.
Well, what's life? Life itself is easier said than done. When you wake up, you want to be a doctor, you want to be a lawyer, you want to be an engineer. It doesn't necessarily mean that you end up there, but you try, don't you?
10-year
To
tax
accept
holiday.
that, to accept, hang on,
10-year.
I think I need to correct this impression.
right.
When people say that it's easier said than done, I think it's a defeatist attitude. It's rather, well, that's a good idea. Why don't we try? So let's stop always looking negative and think that because it was not done before, it can't be done now. It can't be done. We have the resources. We have the people who can think through it. I think that the current government has a team that is very excited about the opportunity to change this country. For many of us in government, it's the opportunity to create a country that we can all be proud of, that is motivating us. And I think we can infuse that motivation into our people.
We certainly will look forward to seeing all those reforms and innovations that you hope to bring to the country. But let's talk about the 10-year tax holiday for foreign businesses. What are you hoping to achieve?
Well, it's currently a suggestion because GIPC doesn't give citizenship, right? But it doesn't give, we don't decide what tax we recommend, and it has to go to Parliament, and Parliament will decide. What we are saying is because we are in a competitive field, and all our peers are sort of reforming and doing all sorts of things to attract investors. And those that have managed to attract the investors have had a significant impact on their economies. So we also look and say, okay, what are others doing? What are the exciting things we can bring to the table that will make, Ghana even more attractive? Already, like I said, people seem naturally attracted to Ghana. Just a few things we need to tweak here and there. Most of these things are human interventions. But we're saying that, okay, so if we were to recommend that companies, foreign companies, who bring their regional offices to set up in Accra, should be given a 10-year tax holiday to encourage them to come. But that's just not all. Conditions that they may have to create a number of jobs and do this and do that will be attractive. Can you imagine if we got the AFDB to come locate in Accra? Can you imagine the number of houses that would be needed? Right? The consumption power they bring and the taxes they pay from the things they consume, significant. So if we got a West Africa office for Google, which is here, it brings people, it employs people, it creates more things. We get all these big Nigerian oil companies and tell them, we'll give you 10 years tax-free to come and locate in Ghana. The impact, the impact of that will be significant for our economy. Now, Mauritius did that. And they haven't given 10 years, they've given 8 years. Companies in South Africa are now locating their headquarters in Mauritius.
And you envisage a lot more of these is likely to happen here in Ghana?
We can do that. I mean, Ghana, like I said, Ghana is well positioned to be the business, financial, educational, even medical tourism hub of West Africa. we seem to have, like I said, we have this natural affinity of attracting people and doing some things right. Now we have to do a lot more right, but we have to be competitive. We are competing against Mauritius, we are competing against Rwanda. Now Rwanda, everybody keeps screaming Rwanda is doing great. It's why? Because they've done simple reforms. They've moved on ease of doing business. How easy is it to understand the tax regime? How easy is it to pay taxes? How easy is it to register a company? How easy is it to pay your electricity bills, your utility bills? How easy is it to clear your goods from the harbor? How easy is the citizen able to engage with government and get a response? Those things are attractive to business people because
very monumental reforms. You've been quoted as saying there are many parts of the GIPC law which you think could be looked at again to attract investors into the market. Which specific laws are you talking about?
For example, the bit about capital limits. That if you're in a JV with a foreigner, then you have to
joint venture. You mean?
Yeah, joint venture. Pardon me. You have to bring in a minimum of $200,000 cash on goods into the market. If you are a wholly owned foreign company, then you have to bring $500,000 cash or capital goods into the market. You have to demonstrate that you brought that amount of money in. And then if you're into trading, you want to bring $1 million. You ought to bring $1 million to bring. My clear understanding from research that we've done at GIPC and speaking to many other stakeholder groups, including our own business people, our lawyers, our accountants, indicates that it's more preventive than doing anything for us. It has stopped a lot of people from coming in. Not that physically it's a barrier, but it's a psychological barrier for people. So for example, I was just thinking, so why should that stop anybody? Assume that some real hotshot IT company wants to come to Ghana to either build a business or to teach or whatever it is. They don't need 200,000 to set up that business. Maybe all it needs is 100,000 to rent a place and get stuff. But you'll be prohibited from doing so. And then secondly, I mean, it also presents another situation because in reviewing this, and the records from GIPC show that once that law was put in place and implemented, we saw a dip in FDI. Yes, we did see a dip in FDI. So I'm just wondering, so let's say that I am in a JV with a foreigner and we own it 50-50 because I want Ghanaian component to be high. He brings 200,000. I am almost compelled to bring 200,000 if he thinks that I should be fair. Even though our law says our shares have no power value. But if he contributes 200,000, he would expect me to contribute 200,000. Now, over the period, we've always insisted that the foreign partner shows that the money came in through the banking sector and Bank of Ghana validates that, yes, we received this amount of money. We've never certified what the indigenous investor has brought in. So we'll say that, oh yes, there's a business that the size of the investment is 400,000, but we only registered 200,000.
So you essentially want to make it more friendly for foreign investors who will to come in and invest.
Well, yeah, investment, not foreign investors, investment. Because like I said, that law doesn't do much to us. Did you get me? But that's not about all. There are many others. I mean, I had a look at the areas reserved for Ghanaians. And I was saying, wow.
The retail sector.
Yeah, I mean, not just the retail sector. Hairdressing, barbering, driving a taxi.
You think it should be opened up?
I'm not sure what that does to us. I think psychologically it sets us back. I would rather the more sensitive places were reserved for Ghanaians.
Like what?
Maybe oil and gas, the harbors.
But that's very capital intensive. What are you talking about?
Yes, so that is why you try to do the mix. But reserving, cutting here for Ghanaians, how do you upgrade? I want Ghanaians to have higher skills, higher paying jobs, not limit them to say that, oh, you are the only people who be barbers. What is that? It doesn't do anything for them. I would rather incentivize them to go beyond that. So I'm not sure. I'm
not thinking that you are hoping to open that space for foreigners.
It's in the discussion. It's open to discussion.
You don't anticipate that in the future we probably would be faced with a South African situation where the indigents will be going up in arms against the foreigners for having taken over.
But you see, because you put in such a law, that is why they'll do that. I would rather incentivize my guys, my people, my Ghanaian brothers and sisters to have higher value paying jobs, by pushing them not to look at barbers and taxi drivers and things, but to look at.
But that's going to be a whole multifaceted.
To look at rather higher paying
you've
jobs.
got to look at that from the educational aspect.
But that is why this current administration has a comprehensive policy framework that attacks many parts of the economy from different angles.
What is Mr. Yofi Grant bringing to the GIPC? What are the benchmarks we should be, holding you on to in the next, say, 4 or 5 years?
Okay, I have some huge goals. 4 or 5 years, I think we should position Ghana as the best place to do business in Africa. We should create at least, if not anything at all, at least 2 or 3 Ghanaian billionaires. We should bring at least 3, 4, 5 global players to have their offices or their factories in Ghana. Because these will definitely open up our economy to more attraction and create more jobs. At the end of the day, what we want is jobs, jobs, jobs for our people. Bring value to our businesses. Create big multinationals from Ghana. There are deliberate actions we can do.
So we can start marking you from now?
Well, yes, you can mark me.
And of course, we'll start with the World Bank Doing Business report. Which
yes, absolutely. That is what I benchmark myself with. And that's why I'm comparing myself to the other countries and what they've done. But mind you, a lot of these other countries around us, Cote d'Ivoire has recently embarked on significant reforms. You can register a company there in 48 hours. You can get your certificate, etc., all that.
You intend doing that here?
Oh, we're even going beyond. The thing is, if we want to be the best place to do business in Africa, we have to beat these people at what they do. But you see, we almost always look at it in a protectionist view and think that, oh, no, let's keep this for ourselves. No, I'm saying, open it out. Let's bring what will make us elevate ourselves.
Yofi Grant, thank you very much for your time on Business Focus. We appreciate your time. That's been the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Yofi Grant. In our very first segment of the program, we'll take a short break. When we return, that interview with Zenobia Bushdi, the Chief Executive Officer of Zeno's Yogurt Bar. She'll tell you all about her business and what she intends to come up with in the next few years. We're back shortly. Hello, good evening, and welcome to yet another edition of your favorite program, the Mover segment here on TV3. Tonight, we're inside the ANC shopping mall at East Legon, and I'm going to be speaking to a young lady who is doing a lot in her society. She's impacting a lot of lives. Her name is Zenobia Bushdi. She's the Chief Executive Officer of Zeno's Yogurt Bar. She's into the production of Greek yogurt. She joins me on the program tonight. Hi, Zeno. Good to have you.
Hi, nice
How you
to
doing?
meet you.
How's business?
Good, good.
Okay,
We
so
can't complain.
what do you do?
Basically, it's a yogurt company, so we produce yogurt, natural yogurt, and we supply to most of the major shops in Accra, including Kumasi. This is a yogurt bar where we basically create our yogurt for customers to see and, hopefully to experiment with our products at home. So this is just sort of to encourage customers to create similar creations.
Okay, so I'm enjoying one of Zenobia's yogurt products. Tastes pretty good. Zenobia, tell me a bit about yourself.
Okay, so I was born to a Ghanaian mother and a Lebanese father in Accra in 1989.
Oh, you're just 28 years.
Just 28. During the year where you usually have to wait for your results, I did a 1-year exchange program with AFS to Switzerland, Zurich, where I studied German, which I've forgotten most of it. After that, I took a gap year and went to France for 8 months, where I did French cuisine and French wines. And then I went to University of Nicosia in Cyprus and studied hospitality management for 4 years. So I obtained a BSc in hospitality management. Came back to Ghana, did my national service at Kaswa, Ewutu Senya, for a year. And I did a bit of modeling before concentrating in 2012 on my Zeno's business.
So you've been to France, you've been to Cyprus, studied German, you've been to Switzerland as well. And then you came back to Ewutu Senya to do your national service.
Yes, for a year.
So why do you decide to go into yogurt business?
Well, because yogurt has always been a part of me. My mom said from when I was a baby, the only thing that I ate was yogurt. So even if they wanted to give me fruits or vegetables, they had to blend it into yogurt. So yogurt has been a part of my life. When I started running it in 2012, I was able to produce different products. I think now we have we have quite a lot of products now. I can't count on the top of my head, but we have Greek yogurts, we have honey bottom, we have the drinking yogurt, slightly sweetened, plain sets, strained yogurts. So,
And this is all because of the hospitality program you undertook in Cyprus?
I wouldn't say it's because of the hospitality program I took. Like I said, it's just something that was always a part of me.
So how did you learn how to make yogurts?
Well, so basically, my dad is the one who knows how to make the yogurts. And when they started the company in the early 90s, he is the one who had the recipe. So I didn't have to relearn how to make yogurts. We already knew how to make yogurts. But with the Greek yogurt and the other products, I basically had to do a lot of experimenting. It took a while for us to be able to come up with those products. So it's just basically self-taught.
Well, access to capital in our part of the world, it's pretty much crazy. I mean, you go to the banks and they're charging you 35% interest rates.
Yeah.
I'm particularly interested in how you started. Where'd you get that initial capital from?
Okay, so I was blessed enough to have a father and family friends who were able to lend me money, basically interest free. So I think that for me, that's one of my biggest advantages, the fact that I was able to borrow money without paying any interest. I don't think I would have been able to survive if I had to go to the banks to borrow money for my business.
Why is she doing this?
Okay, so I mean, I myself have questioned myself a few times, when people make these comments to me. I do have my moments where I wake up and work is too difficult and work is too hard, and I say, should I just have taken an easier route? I'm not saying that acting and modeling is easy, but I do believe that for me, it would have been easier. But I'm not sure I would have been as fulfilled doing those things as doing what I'm doing now, because at the end of the day, I don't just want to be known as a pretty face. If I'm on the cover of a magazine, I want it to be because I'm the cover story. You're opening the middle page of the magazine.
And you're reading about Zenobia.
You're reading about something that I've done.
Tell me about the challenges or difficulties you've had to encounter, running a business like this.
Okay, I think the first thing is it's very difficult for people to take you seriously. When people see you and you're a young girl and you're supposed to be a business person, they find it hard to take you seriously until you open your mouth and you say things worth listening to. So I think the biggest challenge that I face is people judge me for my appearance, and then I have to work very hard to prove myself. That's probably one of my biggest challenges.
Interesting. So you started with capital from family. They supported you to raise some initial money to start your business. How much do you need to start this business?
So basically for this yogurt bar, I had to borrow $22,000 to be able to pay, for the rent and my equipment and stuff.
What kind of equipment do you use?
Okay, so over here I had to get the display freezer, I had to get the display fridge, I had to get a popcorn machine, a cash register, smoothie blenders. Have I forgotten anything? I had to get cameras, which cost a lot. And then the structure. The structure was extremely expensive because wood is very expensive.
Right.
Cane is very expensive. Korean tops are very expensive, and workmanship isn't cheap. So it went into.
Let's talk about your staff. I see two lovely ladies working here, quite committed. How did you get them?
I use agencies, I use Tonaton, and sometimes people recommend people to me.
What's your medium-term goal?
Well, I do have a product that I'm introducing into the market. That's my major thing at the moment. It's going to be zero-fat yogurts. And the nice thing about it is that it tastes like full cream yogurts, but it's zero fat. So for people who are interested in eating a lot of yogurts but do not want it to be full cream, I think they'll be very happy to know that we're introducing the zero fat. People should expect, new products coming into the system, hopefully by the end of the year.
It's a big country, and so far you just opened 2 shops.
2 shops, yes.
Don't you intend spreading across the length and breadth of the country?
I'm not sure about that. I believe that for now, it would be in my best interest to see how best I can utilize the 2 places that I already have. If it means offering some sort of delivery service, I would do that, because at the end of the day, I don't want to open too many places at the same time and not have control over them. So I think for now, I will stick to the 2 places that I currently have and see how I can expand from here.
Would you say you're a brand name?
Yes, definitely.
You are?
Definitely.
People know you?
Definitely.
Lots of people?
I don't know about lots of people, but people know me. And
How do you attract people?
Through social media. And we recently did a survey and found out that a lot of our customers come here through word of mouth, which means that we're doing something good. A lot of people come here because someone refers them to this place.
And how do you keep them?
Well, we try to be very sociable, we try to be very nice. See how nice we were to you.
You have?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Really?
Yeah.
Aren't you enjoying our product?
Well, I had to ask for it. Maybe you could add some more to it.
Yeah,
maybe
okay.
be nice to
okay,
you.
we'll top up. We'll top
Okay.
up to show you that we are very nice.
That's in order. So,
Yeah.
there are other companies that trade in yogurt. We've got Fan Milk, and I'm sure there are lots of other ice cream joints
Yeah.
around. How are you measuring up to competition?
So I would like to first state that I do not believe that I have any competition.
Okay.
I am the only person in Ghana and probably in West Africa
And probably
and
in the
probably
world.
in Africa.
And in the world.
No, not in the world.
Okay.
Probably in Africa, making Greek yogurts commercially. So I do not see anybody as a competitor. I'm the only person that owns a yogurt bar. So again, I do not see anybody as a competitor. The other yogurt companies that you mentioned, like Fan Yogurt, which I absolutely love, are not 100% natural yogurts. So for me, those are not competitors. They're doing very well, but I do not consider them competitors. And I am happy with the small market share that I have. I'm not going to put in additives or preservatives in order to be able to expand fast, no.
So, Nubia, you know, you're a young girl, 28 years old, who's trying to make a difference in your community, trying to impact your society. There are lots of young people out there, especially for the females, you know, who want to enter into business and probably find it difficult to. What's your advice out there to the youth?
Okay, I think that if you have something that you believe in, stick to it. And one thing that I've learned is that you don't have to listen to what everybody says. When I was starting the business, so many people came with advice, and it's something that you should keep at the back of your mind is it's not everybody that advises you that is giving you correct advice. If you believe, like me, for example, I believe that what I want to do is natural yogurt. People will come up to you and tell you, but you can make more money from adding preservatives. You can reach more people if you're able to have a shelf life of 1 month. At the end of the day, you have to know what it is you want to go into. If it's something that you believe in, just stick to it. And I do not encourage anybody to become an entrepreneur because they're trying to make money, especially fast money. The worst thing you can do is own your own business if you want to make fast money, because it usually takes a couple of years before you're able to enjoy any of that money, and it takes a lot of discipline. So if you want the easy way out, don't be an entrepreneur. If you want to struggle and you want to be proud of yourself after a couple of years, be an entrepreneur.
So, how many people have you employed so far?
I've employed about 19 people.
And these are people you pay on a monthly basis?
Yes,
You've got well-laid structures?
I believe so.
You've got
For
accountants?
For the size of my company, I believe I have the structure for it. I do not have a full-time accountant. That is something that I have to get ASAP, because I see that I'm expanding very quickly and I need a full-time accountant. And I do need a full-time social media person as well. So those are 2 areas where I need to employ people.
Where do you see your business in the next 10 years?
In the next 10 years, I see myself with the same vision, doing the same thing that we're doing now, but we would have hopefully introduced several more creative products, and we would hopefully have expanded in terms of the number of yogurt bars that we have. But again, like I said, I'm not in a hurry to expand too fast. I would much rather be a force to reckon with, even if it means having just 2 yogurt bars and doing it properly.
I thought it was going to be my final question, but this will be my very final question. And again, it's because of how I hear you speak and the sort of passion in which you articulate yourself. So you schooled in Cyprus.
Yes.
You did something in hospitality.
Yes.
You are an entrepreneur now.
Yeah.
Do you think that you're what you are today based on what you studied in school, or based on what you learned from your family, that's your father who's in business?
I definitely do not think that I'm what I am today because of school. I'm currently doing my MBA, and I think if I had done my MBA earlier, I would not have opened a business. I think that everything that I am today is because of experiences that I've been through. It's through the exchange program that I went. It's through being in France by myself at a very young age. It's through doing several internships in Ghana, which is another important thing that I think a lot of people miss out on. I worked at Golden Tulip as a waitress. I did housekeeping. I worked at La Palme as a waitress, and it's made me understand the different levels to a business. It's made me who I am. I'm not afraid to work because I've been through so much by myself. I've experienced so much by myself, and I'm very grateful to my parents for not shielding me and for allowing me to go through life by myself and to be able to make my own mistakes. So I think it's through experiences.
Zenobia, I'm going to say a big thank you to you.
Thank you too.
It's been
Thank you very
exciting engaging you on the Mover segment, and I love
Thank
your
you.
yogurt.
Thank you.
I'm sure I'll pass by one of these days and to grab one more for
Thank you.
myself.
Please do, and invite everybody else while there.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for the Mover segment for this week. My guest has been Zenobia Bastide. She's the Chief Executive Officer of Zeno's Yogurt Bar, and she's been sharing her experiences with us of how to operate a yogurt bar and also what it is that the youth can learn from her. That's all for the Mover segment this week. My name is Park Sorry. Thanks for watching. Hopefully, same time next week, we'll see you another edition of Mover segments. You're welcome back to Business Focus, your weekly business and economic analysis program. Gone by, we just spoke to the Chief Executive Officer of Zeno's Yogurt Bar, Zenobia Bastide. In studio now is Ben Amweje, an investment analyst with First Bank Financial Services. Ben, we've got to make it snappy. Tell me about the commodities market.
Okay, it was a good week for commodities last week, and for very different reasons. OPEC seems to be on track to extend the deal beyond June, so that was good for oil. Oil has risen back above $50 per barrel, and which is good for us as Ghana. Gold also saw some increase in price because of issues in the US. Donald Trump sacked the FBI boss. There was increased political uncertainty, and gold always benefits from chaos like that.
Absolutely.
So gold was up as well. Cocoa has also enjoyed because of chaos in Ivory Coast. I'm sure you've heard of the mutiny. Exactly. Right. And it is expected that even though the mutiny won't affect production, it might affect the movement of cocoa from the growing areas to the ports, at in Abidjan, for instance.
Are we supposed to benefit from that?
If cocoa prices rise as a result, then that's good for us. And we have seen an uptick in cocoa prices. That's risen back above 1,900. It still hasn't hit $2,000 yet, but it's much better than the 1,800 we were seeing 2 weeks ago.
Gold?
Yes. Gold has also enjoyed, like I said, from Donald Trump's issues with the American
Oh, sure,
public.
we'll talk about it. So let's go back to the stock market.
Okay, the stock market seems to be trending sideways for now. It looks like for some long time now, it makes a gain 1 week and then it makes a loss the week after. So we are looking at a stalled rally for now, but we expect that it will be reinvigorated again as the year moves on ahead. Again, we are seeing treasury bill rates drop further and further, and that should support the stock markets going forward as well.
Ben, I want to say a big thank you to you. Thanks very much for joining us on the program. That's all for the for Business Focus tonight. Thank you very much for watching your weekly business and economic analysis program. My name is Park Sorry. Thanks immensely to my producers and to the technical guys out here. God willing, same time next week, we'll see you for yet another edition of the program. News 360 comes up next.